Well, welcome everybody. Glad to be here. Glad to see you on Wednesday morning. Hope everyone had a good night. But as I was trying to say, is we ask a lot of you over the course of the 4 days that you're here, but we do have one last thing to ask, and that is that you do take the time to fill out this evaluation form. I personally read every single one that gets handed in. We take that feedback and we put it to work and try to make the conference better each and every year. So if you could please fill these out. You can leave them right on the desk or return them at the help desk. We'll collect them, we read them, so please do take the time to complete these. But today is all about big ideas, different solutions. It's not just focused on ETFs. When we go and think about our first speaker, if you watch CNBC, you know him. If you follow him on Twitter, you know Josh Brown. He's one of the biggest financial people when it comes to Twitter. But he's really at the forefront of where this industry is going. And we wanted to kick this day off with a look at technology and how it's impacting advisors' businesses and their practices. So with that, why don't we go ahead and bring Josh Brown up. Josh?
Keep going. I didn't get there yet. Keep going.
Good morning, buddy. Have a good one.
All right. All right. Give it up for John Swolfs, everybody. Come on. That beard. It's magnificent. All right. Hello, and welcome to the 9th and final day of Inside ETFs. My name is Downtown Josh Brown, and I didn't come all the way down here to speak in generalities. I don't do platitudes. We're going to get very real this morning. I'm here to save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of aggravation. I'm not certain about what the future will bring, but I do have 5 big ideas for investors and investment advisors that I think by the end of this, everyone will walk out of the room feeling pretty good about what's to come. I wrote this talk just for today, so I'm using notes. Don't be mad. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I write one of the most widely read financial blogs in the world. I started the Reform Broker blog in 2008, so I'm in my 11th year writing about the markets, the industry, et cetera, on a daily basis. The site has been visited by millions and millions of people over the years, some of whom even come back a second time. I've also been known to send a tweet every once in a while. Wall Street Journal named me one of the top Twitter accounts in wealth management. Time and Barron's called me the top follower in finance. A few months ago, I broke above 1 million followers, many of whom are not Russian influence agents from the Kremlin, so that's good. And then there are the 2 books. In 2012, I wrote Backstage Wall Street. Business Insider called it riveting. The New York Times referred to it as adequate. It looks at the way Wall Street sells its services to Main Street. The second book, it's just okay. It wasn't that good. And then, of course, a lot of you know me from my daytime soap opera, Monday through Friday. This is called The Halftime Report on CNBC. You've probably seen it, but with the volume off. So now you know what my voice sounds like. This is the infamous Deca box, where whomever shouts their opinion the loudest is right, and I am always right. It's a great platform for me to communicate with ordinary investors and get the wealth management perspective into the daily conversation. And then sometimes they punk me in front of the whole world. That's okay too. My day job is the CEO at a registered investment advisory firm called Ritholtz Wealth. We started in New York City. We're a little bit over 5 years old, growing very quickly. We launched with 4 people, 90 million under management. We've added people all over the country. We're now approaching 30 employees, about 940 million under management. I have 5 big ideas as a result of that experience about advisor technology and some thoughts on the future of wealth management. And I want to get into them right now. This is the first one, and I genuinely believe this. First of all, everyone should take a deep breath. You are all going to have jobs in the future. Every single one of you, except this guy. This guy's done. There are 3 theories about what automation and software will mean for the future of jobs. The first scenario is that robots will take all of our jobs, and we'll all be living on a universal basic income and trying to find ways to fill our day. The second theory is robots will take some or most of our jobs. And then the third theory, robots will take none of our jobs because jobs are infinite. I currently have a foot in camps 2 and 3, and I'm leaning toward camp 3 because I'm optimistic, and I think humanity is special. Camp one, which is the fear that's driving us all into large allocations of FANG stocks and scaring us on a daily basis, is utter nonsense and ahistorical. There's an important distinction we need to make about artificial intelligence in order for you guys to go along with what I'm about to say. There are actually two different forms of AI. There's narrow AI and there's AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. I'm going to start by saying that AGI, which is what everyone is afraid of, that's Skynet, it's something that exists in theory only. The scientific community is evenly divided about whether or not a computer can ever become an artificial general intelligence, because there's a huge split in the community about what consciousness is. And when we're talking about a computer having consciousness, that's not a given that in 2030 or in 2040. We don't even understand where consciousness comes from. Is it an emergent behavior, like what we see in a colony of ants cooperating? Is it regular brain function activity? Do we have souls? If we do, where are they? Maybe we can't explain human consciousness because it exists at a submicroscopic level, what scientists call the quantum realm. Could that be the answer? These are the things that people are debating right now. But I think everyone agrees that we're very far away. And if what makes humans intelligent and emotionally connected to the world around us is still far from being discovered, I think it's very unlikely that we'll be able to teach that to a software program. Physics explains chemistry, chemistry explains biology, biology explains life. But what explains physics? We are aware of space and mass, gravity, time. We know these things exist, but we can't explain their origins. They cannot be understood currently. There are many scientists who would lump consciousness in with those four fundamentals as something that's a force in the universe and inexplicable. So the idea, again, of us saying, well, we have a computer that can now have this same consciousness that we all have, I think it's science fiction at this point. So, and by the way, if you want to go deeper into these questions of whether or not robots or AI will replace humanity or take jobs or which jobs or become the next dominant species on Earth, which I think is what Elon Musk likes to tweet about, this is the book that gets into all of those questions, and I highly recommend it. It's called The Fourth Age by Byron Reese. Consciousness is what makes us human. We can define it as an awareness of ourselves. You could program a computer to tell you that it is aware of itself, but that doesn't mean it actually is. In fact, the scientific community hasn't even decided whether or not animals have consciousness. But we know that people do. And those people have spent the last 20,000 years or so looking for help and guidance from other people. The means of delivering that help may change as new technologies are introduced, but the need never goes away. When people talk about AI right now, what they're really referring to is narrow AI. Programming a computer to decide on an outcome based on various inputs is not quite the same as building a sentient, sapient being with its own consciousness. It's a parlor trick. It's a good one, though. It's incredibly effective in today's world. We see AI everywhere, and it's getting better and better and better. Narrow AI is already leading to an incredible revolution in the nature of work and the fabric of our lives. The sprinkler system that has sensors to detect the right amount of water to water the lawn with. The sensors that detect when the grass has grown to a certain length and needs to be mowed. Amazon's suggestion engine. You read 50 Shades of Grey. Customers who purchased this book have also, no, I'm not gonna, all right. But doing some basic data entry into a few fields on a computer screen and then having a list of ETFs spit back out at you is a form of narrow AI, and it works. And yet, there are over 300,000 human American beings currently giving some form or other of financial advice right now. Many of them are using a tool like what I just described as part of their service offering. There are many tasks and aspects of a human job that can and will be replicated by software, and yet we're sitting with an unemployment rate that's below 4%. The real story of technology and jobs is that it forces workers into new professions that are created out of thin air based on new needs that arise as a result of higher productivity, the circulation of excess capital, and the accumulation of new wealth in the economy. Agriculture went from 40% of all the jobs in the early 1900s to 2% today. Are all those people who would have otherwise been employed in agriculture sitting around unemployed? Of course not. In the second half of the 20th century, manufacturing jobs went from 30% of the economy to 10%. If I had told you in 1950 that this was going to happen, you would have said losing 2/3 of manufacturing jobs is going to be a disaster for America. This was hardly the case. Jobs come and go, but the economy gets stronger as a result of this churn. Reese calculates that the half-life of a job is approximately 50 years until that job disappears or turns into a different version of that job. From 1900 to 1950, half the jobs in existence disappeared. From 1950 to 2000, another half disappeared. All of this was caused by technological disruption. And yet no net job loss actually occurred. Zero. This all took place during a period of nearly uninterrupted full employment, rising wages, growing gross national product. And it says nothing about the quality of jobs we're doing today versus back in 1900. Pick a Charles Dickens novel, any one of them, if you want to get a sense of the nature of work today versus then. It was gruesome. Time magazine ran an article in February 1961 called The Automation Jobless. They could have written this article today. This is 60 years later. This is what people were saying then. Quote, "The number of jobs lost to more efficient machines is only part of the problem. What worries many job experts more is that automation may prevent the economy from creating enough new jobs. Throughout industry, the trend has been bigger production with a smaller workforce. Many of the losses in factory jobs have been countered by an increase in service industries or office jobs, but automation is beginning to move in and eliminate office jobs too. In the past, new industries hired more people than those they put out of business, but this is not true of many of today's new industries. Today's new industries have comparatively few jobs for the unskilled or semi-skilled, just the class of workers whose jobs are being eliminated by automation." End quote. 60 years ago. Could have been today, this morning. Obviously, we would all agree that technology has grown substantially more disruptive since 1961, and yet everyone managed to find something to do in the labor force anyway. In a 1930 essay, John Maynard Keynes posited that by 2030, productivity would grow between 4 and 8 times, and people would be blessed with a 15-hour work week. Well, he got the first part right. We're going to hit the high end of that productivity estimate. As for the second part, raise your hand if you're working 15 hours a week. Barry, not you. Okay. These concerns have been with us forever, and we continue to find ways to make ourselves useful, ways to spend our money, and to address new human needs that arise. Keynes could not have foreseen the emergence of social media managers, SoulCycle trainers, YouTube influencers, web developers, smartphone app creators, ETF sponsors. The business of advice will carry on, even if our roles in this business change. So the only question that matters for advice professionals should revolve around where they will fit into that future and which tools they will use to become better at performing their role. My next big idea is that there is no first mover advantage in our industry. Pioneers, for the most part, get arrows in their backs, especially in a regulated business like wealth management. Let's use robo-advice as an example. There will most likely be 5 gigantic robo-advice platforms for the foreseeable future: Vanguard, Schwab, Betterment, Fidelity, and Merrill Edge. Everyone else will pretty much just plug away and spin their wheels until they're acquired or folded into something bigger. Sorry if that offends anyone. There will be 0 robo-advice businesses run by an independent RIA that ever scale into anything meaningful. None of them will be able to drive enough traffic organically to a landing page to ever achieve scale. And it would be idiotic for them to pay for ads. They'd be going up against Charles Schwab, which spends $100 million a year in advertising, so good luck. Besides, if an RIA decided to run an ad budget, why would they be looking to attract clients to their lowest margin service tier? They wouldn't do it. Personal Capital is awesome. I don't consider them a pure robo. They don't consider themselves that either. Unlike a lot of the presenters in this space, I'm here to tell you that technology decision-making is difficult. So I'm going to tell you my robo-advice story. 5 years ago, there was this idea that every RIA needed to launch their own robo-advisor in order to grab market share. I was one of the people who bought into that because I'm a schmuck. My partners were like, all right, give it a shot. So we went for it. After checking out all the options among all the software providers, going to conferences like this, testing things out, et cetera, we went with a small startup that probably was founded the morning I signed the contract, for all I know. Their office was someone's car. The assets were staying with my custodian, TD Ameritrade. So I figured the only real risk was software risk, right? Client money wasn't at risk. So we gave it a shot. What a fucking debacle. Within 90 days of us launching the site and the service, that startup software company was acquired by Envestnet. They framed it as an acqui-hire. They said they wanted to hire the engineering talent so that they can really invest and build it out. Barry and I had stock options because we were early adopters of the software, which the lawyers found a way to steal from us once the deal closed, so that was good. Then Envestnet laid off the founders that we were working with. So much for acqui-hire, so that was good. Then they orphaned the product. They just like decided, all right, it's there, it'll be okay. No updates, nobody ever looked at it. So the software barely worked, it was never upgraded, it was never worked on. And I had my head trader who handles allocations for $20 million wealth management accounts, taking calls about $300 deposits not going through for robo clients. A couple of years later, my friend Aaron Klein at Riskalyze came along and announced a new robo allocation product. So we switched over, and it's better now. But by then, all the wind had been taken out of our sails. We just couldn't get excited about it and never bothered doing any kind of marketing. We're going to fix it because we think there's still something there, but the moral of the story is it would have cost us nothing to wait. But remember, I'm a schmuck. I hope you learned something from my experience. We could have been the 100th RIA to launch instead of the first. It would have cost us nothing. We could have watched everyone else try something, fail, and then come in and get it right from the start. Being first does not matter in this business. We're not sequencing the human genome for a drug patent. We're not trying to land a rocket on Mars and put a flag in it. Just a show of hands, can anyone name the first investment advisory firm to introduce email in the late 1990s? Anyone know? Who gives a shit? Anyone know which advisor received the first new account form via DocuSign? No. I have no idea. What about the first advisor to build a model portfolio out of ETFs? Anyone know? The first to create a LinkedIn profile. Nobody knows who did these things first. Doesn't matter. First is not important. It's who's best and who persists in improving something year after year. The only example of first mover advantage or early adopter advantage in our business is probably social media, because followers and subscribers accrue first to the scarce number of profiles that exist in the early days, and then the network effect takes over. But even in the case of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you could be 20th, you could be 50th. Just be good. Be so good they can't ignore you. And if you're the best, whatever disadvantage you may have had from starting late will melt before your eyes once you're getting things right. We launched 2 skills for Alexa over the last few months. There will be 120 million homes that have either an Alexa, a Google Home, or an Apple HomePod speaker by 2020. 120 million households. My clients will want to interact with us via voice because voice is going to replace a whole lot of screen time as people become accustomed to it. So how can we not be there? So now we're there, and we're first. No other RIA is currently building an audience on voice. But how much will that mean if we suck at it? It won't matter at all. We have to get it right. My next big idea, seriously. Look, I get it. We're all tech companies now. McDonald's is a tech company, sure. Fattening technology. Domino's Pizza tells Wall Street it's a tech company. Okay. My exterminator is selling monthly subscriptions, telling people he's insecticide as a service. I can't, and I pay it. Fine. The shoe shine guy in Penn Station is a startup. Okay. The new FOMO-inducing shtick, and I heard some of this at this conference, is that every big RIA, roll-up or whatever, are going to develop their own in-house tech stuff to broaden their moat. Fine. I would say it's interesting to read about, but my message to you is not to be jealous of the firms that are talking about building their own technology and spending millions and millions of dollars to do it. They are taking a huge, unnecessary risk. Wirehouses all built out their own tech platforms in the 1990s, and they've been patching them and scotch taping them ever since. You ever ask a wirehouse advisor at like Morgan Stanley or something about his firm's tech? He fucking hates it. But he's stuck with it. It was obsolete before it was even deployed. And then a merger of two firms running two different proprietary tech systems, that's like the Hindenburg crashing into the Titanic. Morgan Stanley and Smith Barney had to hire 1,000 engineers just to untangle this shit. And then every 10 years, the entire firm does a massive changeover from one legacy system to the next system that'll be the next legacy system, and it's a brand new disaster. If you think RIA's proprietary technology built in-house is gonna be any different, you're crazy. Bug fixes, obsolescence, getting programs to talk to each other, it's the same thing that half the advisors were running away from when they fled Merrill or they fled LPL. I hear people talking about, oh, we're open architecture. What is this, Noah's Ark? What are you even talking about? Do not have a fear of missing out. There are a handful of RIAs that will do this well, for sure. Some of them have been here this week. They will build fantastic proprietary technology. Most will not. The good news is it's not necessary. You don't need to make your own technology. You need the best of what's available and let the software companies keep it updated and functioning smoothly with the custodians, the other providers, the APIs. That is not our business, ladies and gentlemen. My next big idea is about boundaries. Look, a lot of this fintech stuff started off with knowing where your client's assets are, and that's really helpful. Now, it's becoming, let's invade every aspect of a client's life and insert ourselves into their social media channels. It's totally out of control. At the end of the day, this business will be about serving clients, answering their questions, and managing their money. They don't want to see you liking their Facebook posts with a bot, sending them happy half-birthday texts every 15 seconds. Nobody wants it. Don't buy it. Don't use it. A very large software company approached me with the idea that we should be adding cookies to everyone who reads our blogs, and that's about 2.8 million unique readers a month, so that we could track them as they visit our corporate site from the blogs, and then see where they go from there, and then know when they come back to visit, et cetera. The idea was like, we would match up our database of email subscribers with the traffic data and know exactly when a subscribed reader hits one of our sites, which would then generate an email solicitation to them to become a client of the firm. And I was like, oh, hell no. Well, first I was like, wait, we could do that? And they were like, damn right we could do that. Get out of here. Look, I'm sure there are large asset management firms or online brokers deploying this technology already, but I thought that was a pretty obvious red line not to cross. We're an investment advisory firm. I'm not trying to be selling people scented candles or home meal kits or whatever. I know there's a major war underway right now about account scraping and which fintech company should have access to what client level data from what brokerage firm, and that's fine. It'll get sorted out. I don't think financial advisors should wade into that. I think we should stay far away. I don't think advisors need to employ technology that tells them everything under the sun about their clients. When our clients volunteer information about themselves, we should use it in order to help them. We should not be in their Instagram stories or tracking their internet use or running tox screens on their blood samples. It's totally inappropriate, it's unnecessary, and it's out of bounds. Just because new technologies arise that allow us to do these things does not absolve us of our responsibilities to know right from wrong. This is my last big idea. And I mean this with no disrespect. If you listen to the press and the hype machine, they say, this is what the RIA of the future is going to look like. So does every RIA need an employee who can help clients choose between a leased or a purchased car? Is that what we're doing now? Does every RIA need an on-staff geneticist? I've been told. Can you imagine a client calling you up panicking about a plunging stock market? Oh my God, is it going to get worse? And you say, Bob, given your genetic risk factors, I wouldn't worry about it too much. How about asset allocation based on their body mass index? You heard this shit yet? I think I'm large cap growth. Look, before you start running around the country collecting sperm samples from your clients, you might want to take a moment to reflect on what we're actually doing here, like on Earth. When you need to introduce a new piece of software into your practice, you will know. You'll know that you need it. For sure, it'll be obvious. And it won't be because the guy down the road has it, or because you saw it at a conference and they gave you a beer mug. It'll be because your employees are struggling to run your business, or your clients are demanding new and expanded services. You don't have to wait for an internal emergency to arise before upgrading your CRM or your trade rebalance software. But there's absolutely no reason to start solving problems before they become problems. You have enough actual current issues to deal with. This is my firm's technology stack at the moment. I kid you not. We use all of these just about every day of the week. Some are for use with clients, some with prospects, some are employee only, some are for research, social media, podcasting, video production, publishing, financial planning, portfolio management, billing. It goes on and on and on. So when I see something in my inbox sent from a fintech startup, I'm like, yeah, right, no chance. And then, of course, a month later, I'm paying for 20 seats on an enterprise license. I just think for my final big idea, sometimes it's cool to say it's enough already. If you're using 40 different fintech products or programs, the 41st or the 42nd one added into the mix is not going to make you any better at serving clients. You have to say no. You might even want to consider stripping things out of your workflow. And believe me, when it comes to client-facing tools, your clients are not looking to have more logins with you. They're not impressed by excessive technology. When you have a younger client base, there's this idea that we have to keep dazzling them with the latest and greatest, but all the evidence shows they don't care about it. They hired you for you. Wealth management clients will never say, yeah, I wasn't sure about hiring her as my financial planner, but then she showed me this killer user interface. It doesn't happen. So get back to being an advisor. You're not an arms dealer. Which gets me to my final slide and something I'm extremely excited to announce today. You ever wonder how to know whether or not you're making good decisions about your tech spending? Yeah. You ever wish there were a resource or a place you could go to see everything happening in wealth management fintech and get definitive answers to these important questions? Me too. The good news is, later this year, this is happening, and you can be a part of it. This September in Scottsdale, Arizona, we're launching a brand new event focused on the future of the wealth management industry. My firm is partnering with Inside ETFs to create a brand new experience, something I think you're absolutely going to love. The event is called Wealth Stack, and it will bring together 500 RIAs, technology executives, and other industry influencers to discuss the intersection of wealth management, asset allocation, fintech, and portfolio construction. We're planning an event where the panels kick ass, the speakers are major, and the networking is absolutely incredible. Our hope is that WealthStack will provide attendees with the working knowledge to build good businesses, attract the right kind of clients that they want to work with, and the ability to better leverage technology to improve all aspects of their practice. I hope to see everyone there. You can sign up now for information and updates on the event. The URL is finance.connect365.com/ John, what is our URL budget?
Small.
All right. knect365.com/wealthstack. We will be updating people when tickets go on sale, when speakers are announced, when panels are put together. And with that, if anyone wants to do any Q&A, it looks like I have a couple of minutes. Happy to talk about anything that's on anyone's mind. Thank you.
I think we have time for one question. Anyone have a question? Do we have anything in Slido? What's the one thing you're most excited about the new?
We didn't do Slido for this. So.
What's the one thing you're looking forward to at the event?
I love the networking. I was out in the bar last night till 12:30. I had so many deep, substantive conversations. Look, Matt, you know we're gonna bring it, speakers. We're gonna have all top shelf, and I love the idea of getting new people that aren't seen at conferences all the time involved, and I think the panels are gonna be a lot of fun, and the audience is gonna be young, growing firms that are trying to get better. And this idea that we can all get together and talk about technology in a forum just for us, I think it's going to be huge. So I'm really excited about the whole thing.
I'm really excited. It's on my calendar. I hope you all are there. Ladies and gentlemen, downtown Josh
Thank you,
Brown.
everyone.